I pressed my palm against the cool glass of the hospital window and watched the Boston skyline blur through February rain. The anesthesia had worn off 3 hours ago, but my head still felt wrapped in cotton. My hip throbbed with each heartbeat, a deep ache that reminded me I was 68 and mortal. The nurse had just left after checking my vitals. "Your daughter should be here soon," she'd said, with that professional smile they teach in nursing school. I'd nodded, grateful. Jennifer had been so attentive these past 2 weeks, ever since I'd slipped on black ice outside the library where I'd worked for 42 years. She'd driven me to appointments, helped me shower, even took time off from her real estate job to handle my paperwork. The surgery had gone well, the doctor said. 6 weeks of recovery, then physical therapy. I'd be back to my small colonial in Brookline by spring, tending the garden my late husband Tom had planted before the cancer took him 5 years ago. I could almost smell the lilacs. My phone buzzed. "Jennifer, running late, Mom. Traffic is awful. Be there by 6. I set the phone on the rolling tray and closed my eyes. The morphine drip made everything soft around the edges. I didn't know then that my house was already gone. The discharge papers came on a Thursday. Jennifer arrived with a wheelchair and a bright smile, her blonde hair pulled back in that severe ponytail she'd worn since her corporate real estate days. Mark, my son-in-law, waited by the car, smoking. He didn't come up. "All set?" Jennifer asked, too cheerful. "I think so." I clutched my purse, the one Tom had bought me in Italy. Everything I'd brought to the hospital fit in one small bag. The drive should have taken 20 minutes. We'd gone 30 when I realized we weren't heading toward Brookline. "Honey, you missed the turn." "No, Mom, we're going to our place." Jennifer's eyes stayed on the road. "We talked about this." "We did? When you signed the papers. You were pretty out of it." She laughed, but it sounded forced. "The anesthesia really got you." I didn't remember signing anything except consent forms. But the morphine had made those 3 weeks hazy. Maybe I had agreed to stay with them during recovery. It made sense. The house had stairs. Their townhouse in Newton had a first-floor guest room. Mark was already inside when we pulled up. He didn't help with my bag. The guest room was smaller than I remembered. Beige walls, a double bed with a thin comforter, no pictures. It smelled like fresh paint. "We just redecorated," Jennifer said, reading my face. "Thought you'd want something neutral." "It's lovely. Thank you, sweetheart." She kissed my forehead. "Rest. I'll bring you dinner." I sat on the bed and felt springs poke through the mattress. Outside the window, their small yard was mostly concrete. No garden. No lilacs. It was temporary, I told myself. 6 weeks. The first week passed in a blur of pain medication and physical therapy appointments. Jennifer drove me, waited in the car, drove me back. She was attentive but distant, always checking her phone. Mark I barely saw except at dinner, where he'd shovel food and leave without speaking. On the 8th day, I asked about my mail. "I'm handling it," Jennifer said, not looking up from her laptop. "I should probably check my bills. The mortgage. All taken care of, Mom." Something in her tone made me look up. "Jennifer." "What?" "I'd like to see my mail." She closed the laptop with a sharp click. "You're recovering from major surgery. You don't need the stress. I have power of attorney." "It's handled. Power of attorney. Medical power of attorney." I'd signed that before surgery, standard procedure. But that only covered healthcare decisions, not finances. I'd spent enough years filing documents at the library to know the difference. "Medical power of attorney," I said carefully, "not financial." Jennifer's smile was thin. "You signed an updated version." "The lawyer said it would make things easier." "What lawyer?" "Mom." She stood, gathering her laptop. "You need to rest. You're getting confused." After she left, I sat in the beige room and tried to remember. Had I signed something? The pre-op area had been chaos. Nurses coming and going. Forms on clipboards. Jennifer had been there, helpful, pointing where to sign. Just routine, Mom. Everyone does this. But I couldn't remember. The morphine had erased whole days. I needed to check my accounts. My purse was on the dresser where I'd left it. My wallet was there, cards intact. But when I looked for my phone, the one with all my banking apps, it was gone. Jennifer? I called out. No answer. I found my old flip phone in the nightstand drawer, the one I kept for emergencies. Tom had insisted I keep it, even after smartphones took over. Technology fails, he'd said. Keep a backup. Thank you, Tom. I dialed my bank. The automated system asked for my account number. I'd had the same account for 35 years. I knew that number better than my birthday. I'm sorry, the robot voice said. That account is closed. I pressed 0 until I got a human. Mrs. Chen? Yes, your account was closed on February 3rd. Funds were transferred per your written request. February 3rd. I'd been in surgery. Transferred where? I'm not authorized to give that information over the phone. You'll need to come in with identification. This is my account. I'm the only one authorized. The paperwork shows joint account holder Jennifer Chen Morrison. She processed the closure in person. The room tilted. I sat down hard on the bed. Ma'am, are you still there? That's my daughter. I never made her joint holder. A pause. I'm showing her as authorized since 2023. Our records indicate you came in October 14th with her and updated the account. October 14th. I'd been at a library conference in Providence, nowhere near a bank. Check the signature. Ma'am, check the signature against my driver's license. I'm telling you, I didn't sign that. Another pause, longer this time. I'll need to escalate this. Can you come to our main branch tomorrow? Yes. Bring 2 forms of ID and any documentation you have. Ask for Mr. Palmer in fraud investigation. I hung up. My hands were shaking. Fraud investigation. My daughter. I sat in that beige room as the afternoon light died and tried to make sense of it. Jennifer had been struggling. I knew that. The real estate market had crashed. Mark's startup had burned through their savings. But this? Identity theft? From her own mother? I thought about confronting her, demanding answers. But something held me back. If she'd gone this far, if she'd forged signatures and closed accounts, what else had she done? I needed to know everything before I acted. That night, while they slept, I crept down the hallway to Jennifer's home office. The door was unlocked. Amateur hour. Her laptop was password protected, but her filing cabinet wasn't. The second drawer down held a folder labeled Mom, Estate. Estate. I wasn't dead yet. Inside, copies of power of attorney documents. Not medical. Financial. Durable. Giving Jennifer control over everything. The signature looked like mine, but the date was February 2nd, the day before my surgery. I'd been home that day, packing my hospital bag, alone. Jennifer had stopped by for 30 minutes, bringing soup. Had I been drugged? The soup had tasted bitter. I thought it was just bad seasoning. I kept digging. A purchase agreement for my house, sold to JM Properties LLC for $680,000, 40% below market value. Closing date, February 10th, the day I'd been in post-op, barely conscious. JM Properties. Jennifer Morrison. She'd sold my house to herself. I found my phone in her desk drawer. Dead battery. I pocketed it and kept searching. Bank statements. My savings account. $127,000 from Tom's life insurance and my retirement, emptied February 5th. Transferred to an account ending in 7,743. I found that statement too. Joint account, Jennifer and Mark. Balance, $3,200. The rest already spent. Car loan, Mercedes-Benz. Opsici Shinoa 0. Credit card statement. Luxury purchases. Hotels. Restaurants. A Rolex. Investment withdrawal. My 401k. Liquidated. Early withdrawal penalties. Taxes. They'd taken $180,000 and netted maybe $120,000 after fees. Gone. Everything Tom and I had built over 43 years of marriage. The house we'd painted together, room by room. The savings from his life insurance that was supposed to last me through retirement. The $401k I'd contributed to every paycheck for 4 decades. Gone. And I was sleeping in a guest room with cheap sheets and no window locks, recovering from surgery, completely dependent on the people who'd robbed me. I took pictures of everything with my flip phone. The camera was terrible, but readable. Then, I put it all back exactly as I'd found it. In the morning, Jennifer brought me oatmeal and acted like nothing was wrong. "How are you feeling, Mom?" "Much better." I smiled. "I think I'll try walking today." "That's great." She seemed genuinely pleased. "Just don't overdo it." "I won't, sweetheart." She left for a showing. Mark was already gone. I was alone. I called a cab from my flip phone and told them to wait at the corner. Getting down the stairs with my walker took 15 minutes. Every step sent fire through my hip, but I made it. The bank was first. Mr. Palmer was 50, black, with kind eyes and the kind of calm demeanor that comes from seeing everything twice. He looked at my documents without expression. "And you're saying you didn't authorize any of this?" "I was in surgery, under general anesthesia." He compared signatures. "Mine from my driver's license. The ones on the power of attorney. These are very good forgeries." "Your daughter?" "Yes." He nodded like this was Tuesday. "I'm going to be honest with you, Mrs. Chen. This is elder financial abuse. It's a felony in Massachusetts. If you want to pursue this, your daughter will likely face criminal charges." "I understand." "Are you sure?" "This will change your family forever." I thought about Jennifer at 6, gap-toothed and laughing. Jennifer at 16, crying about a boy. Jennifer at 25, in her wedding dress, the daughter I'd thought I knew. Then I thought about the empty accounts, the sold house, the fact that she'd left me with nothing, I'm sure. "Then we'll start a fraud investigation. I'll need you to file a police report. Do you have somewhere safe to stay?" I hadn't thought that far ahead. Not really. He made a call. 20 minutes later, I was talking to a social worker about emergency housing for elder abuse victims. They had a bed in a transitional facility in Cambridge. Small room, shared bathroom, but safe and free while I got back on my feet. The police came next. Young officer. Couldn't have been more than 30. She took my statement, looked at my photos, called her sergeant. "We'll need the original documents," she said. "Can you get them?" "They're in my daughter's house. We can get a warrant, but it would be faster if you could retrieve them voluntarily. Are you willing to go back? Back to that beige room? Back to Jennifer's fake concern and Mark's silence?" "Yes." They sent me with a female officer, plain clothes. She waited in the car while I went inside. Jennifer was home. She looked up from her laptop, surprised. "Mom? Where were you? I came to check on you and you were gone. I was worried sick. I had an appointment. You should have told me. I would have driven you. Your hip. It's fine." I moved toward the hallway, toward her office. She stood. "Where are you going?" "I need to get something." "Mom." She stepped in front of me. "You need to rest. Let me help." "I don't need your help." Something in my voice made her stop. I pushed past her, into the office, straight to the filing cabinet. "Mom, that's private." I pulled out the folder. All of it. Power of attorney, house sale, bank statements. Jennifer's face went white. "You went through my things." "My things. These are my documents. Forged with my signature." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Stop." I turned to face her. "I know everything. The closed accounts. The house sale. The 401k withdrawal. All of it." She opened her mouth, closed it. Then, "You weren't competent to make decisions. The surgery, the medication. Someone had to take care of things. By stealing my life savings, we were going to pay you back." Mark's business is about to take off. You needed my money, so you forged my signature and took it. Tears now, real or fake. I couldn't tell anymore. Mom, please. We can fix this. I'll transfer everything back. We'll sell the car. There's nothing left to transfer. You spent it all. I can get a loan. I'll make it right, I swear. The police officer appeared in the doorway. Badge out. Jennifer Chen Morrison? Jennifer looked at me. At the officer. Back at me. Mom, please. Don't do this. You did this. The officer read her rights while Jennifer cried. Mark came home to find his wife in handcuffs, screaming that I was ruining everything, that I was an ungrateful bitch, that she'd sacrificed everything to take care of me. I picked up my one small bag and walked out. The transitional facility was clean and safe and utterly depressing. 12 women, all over 60, all displaced by family members who'd seen them as ATMs instead of mothers. We shared stories over terrible coffee in a common room with fluorescent lights. My son took out credit cards in my name, one woman said. 50,000 in debt before I found out. My daughter-in-law convinced me to add her to my deed, said another, then evicted me. We were the invisible victims. Too ashamed to report, too loving to prosecute. Until we couldn't afford to love anymore, I filed for emergency fraud protection. The bank froze the joint account Jennifer had created. The $3,200 still in there was mine now, at least temporarily. It wasn't much, but it was something. A legal aid lawyer helped me contest the house sale. JM Properties, LLC, was a shell company created 3 months before my surgery. Premeditated, that helped my case. The lawyer filed for emergency injunction, stopping the sale from being finalized. The house was in probate now, frozen until the criminal case resolved. I couldn't live there yet, but Jennifer couldn't sell it. Small victories. The criminal investigation moved slowly. They seized Jennifer's computer, her files, her phone records. They found the forged signatures, the shell company, the paper trail of theft. Mark flipped immediately, testifying that Jennifer had planned everything, that he'd just gone along with it, the loyal husband. The prosecutor offered Jennifer a plea deal. Felony elder abuse, financial fraud, identity theft. 3 years minimum, possibility of 5. Restitution of all funds, though the money was long gone. She'd have to sell the Mercedes, the Rolex, their townhouse. Even then, she'd owe me for years. She rejected the deal, wanted to go to trial. My mother is confused, her lawyer said. The medications made her paranoid. This is a tragic misunderstanding, but the signatures didn't lie. Neither did the bank records, or the shell company, or Mark's testimony. The trial lasted 6 days. I sat in the gallery and watched my daughter lie under oath. Watched her cry and play the devoted caregiver driven to desperation by my imagined dementia. Watched her lawyer paint me as a confused old woman who'd forgotten signing documents. The jury took 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge was a woman in her 70s. She looked at Jennifer with something like disgust. You targeted your own mother at her most vulnerable. You left her with nothing. The court sees no remorse, only self-pity. I'm sentencing you to 5 years in state prison, suspended to 3 with good behavior. You'll begin restitution immediately at $1,000 per month until the debt is satisfied. You're also prohibited from contact with the victim for 10 years. Jennifer sobbed. I felt nothing. Mark filed for divorce 3 weeks later. He'd already moved out, already started dating. Jennifer would leave prison to find herself alone, broke, and unemployable with a felony record in real estate. The life she'd stolen my money to build had collapsed anyway. Karma, the women at the facility said. I didn't call it that. I called it consequences. I got my house back in November, 8 months after that February surgery. The garden was overgrown, but the lilacs had bloomed anyway. Tom's roses needed pruning. I spent a week pulling weeds, my hip aching but functional. Physical therapy had worked. The bank eventually recovered $47,000 from the sale of Jennifer's assets. The rest was gone, spent on a lifestyle that had lasted less than 3 months. My 401k was still depleted, my savings still empty. At 68, I was starting over. But I was home. I went back to work part-time at the library. They welcomed me back, gave me light duty in the reference section. The salary was small, but combined with Social Security and the restitution payments, I could manage. Barely. I'd have to be careful. No vacations. No restaurants. No luxuries. But I had my house. And my dignity. Jennifer wrote me letters from prison. I didn't open them. The social worker said I should. That forgiveness was healing. Maybe. But forgiveness didn't mean relationship. It didn't mean trust. I'd learned the difference. A year after the sentencing, the pastor at my church asked if I'd speak to the congregation about elder abuse. So many families struggle with this, he said. Your story could help. I almost said no. It was private. Shameful. Who wants to admit their daughter stole from them? But then I thought about the women in that facility, the silent victims, the ones too ashamed to prosecute, choosing to protect their abusers over themselves. I said yes. The church was packed that Sunday. I stood at the podium and told my story. Not the details, those were for the courts, but the arc, the betrayal, the investigation, the choice to prosecute, the aftermath. Some people will say I should have forgiven her, I said. That family is forever. That she made a mistake. I paused, looking out at the faces. Some nodding, some uncomfortable. But forgiveness doesn't mean accepting abuse. It doesn't mean giving someone access to hurt you again. I forgave my daughter. I hope she finds peace. But I will never give her the opportunity to steal from me again. Because love without boundaries isn't love. It's enabling. The silence was complete. If someone in your family is pressuring you to sign documents, to give them access to your accounts, to make things easier, stop. Get a second opinion. Talk to a lawyer. Protect yourself. Because the people who love you won't ask you to make yourself vulnerable. And the people who do ask? They've already decided you're worth less than your bank account. After the service, 7 people came up to me. 5 were elderly, facing similar pressure. 2 were adult children, ashamed of their own thoughts about their parents' money. I talked to all of them. The pastor started a monthly support group. I co-led it. We called it Boundaries and Dignity. Catchy, right? But it filled up. People needed to talk about the thing no one wants to admit. Sometimes your family is your greatest danger. Jennifer was released after 22 months for good behavior. I heard she moved to Florida, started fresh, told people her mother had died. Maybe that was easier than admitting what she'd done. Mark remarried within a year. A younger woman, no kids, decent job. He moved on like our family had never existed. I stayed in my house, tended my garden, worked at the library, lived small and careful and free. People ask if I regret prosecuting her, if I wish I'd just let it go, preserved the relationship. I tell them the relationship ended when she forged my signature, when she chose money over her mother, when she left me with nothing and didn't care. What I prosecuted was a criminal. What I lost was already gone. My daughter died the day she sold my house. The woman in prison was someone I didn't know. That sounds harsh. Maybe it is. But it's also true. I learned 3 things from this nightmare. First, trust is earned through action, not obligation. Blood doesn't entitle anyone to your blind faith. Second, protecting yourself isn't cruel. It's necessary. The people who tell you otherwise usually benefit from your vulnerability. Third, you can forgive someone and still never see them again. Forgiveness is about releasing anger. Trust is about earned safety. They're not the same thing. I'm 70 now. My hip still aches when it rains. My house still needs work I can barely afford. My retirement is a fraction of what it should be. But I wake up in my own bed, in my own house, with my own money in my own account. Nobody has access but me. Nobody can take what I've rebuilt. And when I walk through my garden, past Tom's roses and the lilacs we planted together, I feel something I didn't feel for months after that surgery. Safe. That's worth more than any relationship built on theft. Worth more than pretending everything's fine while you're being robbed. Worth more than protecting someone who saw you as a resource instead of a mother. I chose myself. I chose safety. I chose truth over comfort. And I'd do it again. If you're reading this, if you're in that place where someone you love is pressuring you, manipulating you, taking from you, choose yourself. Document everything. Get help. Prosecute if you have to. Because you deserve to be safe in your own life. You deserve to spend your final years in peace, not subsidizing someone else's greed. And if they loved you, they'd never ask. That's the truth they don't want you to know. I'm Margaret Chen. I'm 70 years old. I live in a small house in Brookline with an overgrown garden and a mortgage I'll probably die with. And I've never been more at peace.